Welcome back to Melissa Talks, where we talk all things uniquely you. In the month of March, there is also something that happens that is really big, and it is called March Madness. If you recall, with my Her Huddle edition, which is for football, the last episode I did say that I would be eventually moving on to basketball once it got to, the points that I really, really watch. And that, of course, is like right now because we are now moving into March Madness. And this edition will be called, drum roll, don't have a drum to be able to do it, but Hoops and High Heels. So this is the first Hoops and High Heels edition for March Madness. Overall basketball, because I will be looking into the NBA as well and talking about the NBA. But I really don't get into them until they get to the finals, which they are making the run for right now. We're seeing it. We're seeing who, of course, is hopefully not going to have to get into the play in to be able to make it. And that's what they're all pushing for now, to not have to play in the play in. But that's another conversation for, the NBA. But Hoops and High Heels, first edition. We're looking at March Madness right now. And last night's first four games, if anybody did pay attention, they were, you know, the whole highlight to just say March Madness has begun, right? We were looking at the first game with St. Francis and Alabama State University. Of course, Alabama State pulled it out last second, 2 point, a layup. They're there. 68-70 was the score. And of course, my mother-in-law is an alumna of Alabama State University. So, we were all excited last night for that and for their win. HBCU, let's go. Then, of course, the next game, we had North Carolina playing, and they eventually won the game. It's been a bit controversial with them simply because, one, they were not the best during the season, and they lost some really key games, especially that game to Duke. I did watch that one back then. And so it was really, said that there were four other good teams that were snubbed, such as West Virginia and even Indiana, who could have been and should have been, put into, selected to be in the dance right now. And that's the whole playoff tournament now. And then the other controversial aspects of it is that the chairman of the selection committee, Bubba Cunningham, is also the athletic director at UNC. Definitely a conflict of interest, right? Simply because one, he had in his contract that if UNC made it to the playoffs, the whole March Madness tournament, he would receive a bonus of $100,000. Now, you're the chairman of this selection committee. You're also the AD. Your team gets in controversially because, again, they were put in over some really good teams who, actually won their quads, things like that, and they did not. So it's like, okay, what's happening here? So people are calling for him to be fired. I personally just believe it is a conflict of interest and it should be investigated. I don't call for anybody to be fired, but it should be looked at because it does not seem right. It seems really underhanded to me, but that's where we are. So, my favorite team, because, aside from that, I'm going for the Gators, right? Everybody knows I'm a Florida Gator fan. We're here once again. Last time we were here was 2014. Of course, my day was back with 2006, 2007, Horford, Noah. Yeah, that's my time. So here we are now back, and I believe we're going to take it all one game at a time, right? One game at a time. So here we are, first March Madness snippet episode for Hoops and High Heels. And of course, we'll talk about NBA when we get closer to that time frame, May, June time frame, when we start getting to the real playoffs and they're outside of the, play-in tournament and who actually makes it. All right, so this is Melissa Talks, where we talk all things uniquely you. I will be checking in as we get down to the 32 teams, down to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four in our championship game. So you have about 4 or 5 more of these that you'll hear. Until next time, bye.